Royal Heralds. A herald is a proclaimer, an announcer. You know, during those times, wala namang public address system. Wala ring Facebook. There's no text messages, no telephone. So everything is passed on, one person to another. Okay? So it's passed on, but you have a responsibility because you are supposed to be a proclaimer of a message from the King, from the superior, which is our Lord Jesus Christ. So we call ourselves the Royal Heralds. And now, for your continuation, I would like to show you what happened to Apostle Paul during this time. But before that, we all start from something. When I was young, I wanted to be a soldier. Why? Because we used to watch war movies at that time. And my favorite was, ewan ko kung kilala ninyo si Vic Moro, hindi nyo kilala yun. Dahil combat yun, combat. Okay. But for a long period of time, I fascinated on becoming a soldier. Because I like the movement, I like the function, I like the action. I like it so much. But then, when I was in high school, I was promoted to be an adjutant. I am an officer in the regiment. Wow, it's a big deal. But after that, when I went to college in ROTC, everything collapsed. ROTC has not been an encouragement to me because there's nothing there anymore. The excitement is all in high school. So we may have some ambitions, but they die down because it is our ambitions. So after that, I wanted to be a policeman. But then I don't want to be a policeman because he's always wearing that uniform. And the whistle and everything, may batuta, everything, all the gadgets are around. Do you know that you don't use all the functions of your iPhone, right? And you have a lot. The policeman has everything around him. During battle, he doesn't know what to do, which one to get. I can imagine the difficulty, so I'd rather be a detective. A detective, at least, he suspects, he objects, he protects, and he discovers. Little did I know that later on, I will be an architect. Ano kinalaman ng architect doon sa detective? Because architects also investigate how they build buildings before. So it's also investigation, right? So nothing was lost. Nothing was lost there. Okay? But after that, when I joined WinSQ, I was invited to participate in the leadership of the church. So first, I was a deacon, then an elder, then they invited me to a pastoral training, then I became a pastor. Ano kinalaman ng detective for being a pastor? But then I realized everything was just my plan, my ambition, things that I wanted to become. But later on, I realized they all failed. Today, I would like to let you know that our dreams are nothing compared to what God has planned for all of us, because His plan for us is unstoppable. There's nothing that can control. There's nothing that can withhold. There's nothing that can mar what God has planned for us. And if there's one thing that I want you to remember today, after this sermon, is no scheme of man can stop God's plan. I want you to remember this. Because later on in your life, you will realize that, yes, I'd like to be like this, like that, but God has a plan for me. That is why I'm here right now. Anybody of you who can relate, please say, I do. And we are all royal heralds. A royal herald of the king stays on mission. So, regardless of all the oppositions going around you, against you, God has a plan for you, and you are on a mission. You have to stay on that mission, no matter the opposition, because no scheme of man can stop God's plan. So, what does this have to do about Apostle Paul? And chapter 23 of Acts. Ito na, we're coming. Last Sunday, Pastor Boots left us with a message from the Lord for Apostle Paul. That says, the following night, the Lord stood near Paul and said, "Take courage, as you have testified about me in Jerusalem, so you must also testify in Rome." Remember that during this point, Apostle Paul had been wanting to go to Jerusalem. And despite all the warnings of other brothers to stop him from going to Jerusalem, he still proceeded. That is why he kept on experiencing all these difficulties and hardships and all the negative things happening around him. It is exciting, but the Lord has a promise to Apostle Paul. Okay, sige, okay lang yan. Okay, whatever you're doing, okay, you will do that also in Rome. So what are you doing now that maybe the Lord has something for you tomorrow in another place? We're all passers-by in this world, in this country. Okay, we're all passers-by, and the Lord has something for us to do, which has started yesterday, today, and continues on. So that time, the Lord has a message for Apostle Paul that he will do the same what he has been doing in Jerusalem. The next morning, ito ng struggle. There were some Jews who formed a conspiracy and bound themselves with an oath not to eat or drink until they have killed Apostle Paul. Sama, ano? During those times, a Jewish oath is called Shevwa, and it's a solemn promise. Parang sinabi na, made in the presence of God. What do they want to do? They want to kill Apostle Paul. So they're saying that, God, please be with me that I may kill Apostle Paul. Tama o hindi? Mali, ano? But still an oath. Still a sumpa. Okay, so they bound themselves for a future action. They wanted to kill Apostle Paul. Breaking it was considered a grave sin, a profanation of God's name. An oath to them is something that you have the Lord's cognizance, you have the Lord's approval for you to do this. So they have the courage to do what they wanted to do. They will not eat nor drink until they have killed Apostle Paul. Wow. Do you agree that your God will be in cahoots with people like them? He will agree that God will agree that you can kill the person, especially his messenger? I don't think so. So there had been so many events after that. But they would rather starve to death than to continue on living, seeing Apostle Paul. Do you know why they hate Apostle Paul so much? Here's the reason why. The Jews believe that they are the only God's people. And they hated what Apostle Paul did to bring the gospel to the Gentiles. And that's why the Gentiles are so happy to become God's children as well. They hated that. So they hate so much. This has got to stop. To stop that, they need to kill Apostle Paul. And they made an oath to do that. So what did they do next? Okay. After more than 40 of them convened and hatched a plan, they went to the chief priests and the leaders of their congregation. They said that, "Sir, we have taken a solemn oath not to eat anything until we have killed Apostle Paul. Now then, you and the Sanhedrin petition the commander to bring Apostle Paul to you, and in the process, we will kill him." Wow! They asked for the approval of the Sanhedrin. Do you think the Sanhedrin will agree to them? Eto na ngayon. When the Sanhedrin gave their go signal, okay yan, they said. Okay yan. Because everybody agreed that what Paul was doing should put into stop. No one should ever bring the Gentiles to God. Only the Jews can. You understand now the reason why the Jews are so mad about Apostle Paul? This is the reason why. But then, God will not stop that. We said that no scheme of man can stop God's plan. So what happened now? When the son of Paul's sister, may sister pala si Paul. When the son of Paul's sister heard of this plot, he went into the barracks and told Paul. Do you know that God's greatest moves unfold in the smallest, the simplest, and the most ordinary ways? Can you imagine this? A young child passing by people who are in cahoots to do an oath to kill Apostle Paul. And then he overheard that. Is it an accident? Do you think that was an accident or God's plan? Then Paul called one of the centurions and said, take this young man to the commander. He has something to tell him. So he took the child to the commander. Then the centurion said to the commander, Paul, the prisoner, sent me and asked me to bring you this child because he has something to tell you. If God has a plan in your life, He doesn't need a miracle when a simple human connection is available. He doesn't need to part again the Red Sea for you. God, para matuloy itong plano mo for me, can you divide the Singapore River for me? Kawawa naman yung boat key tsaka yung Clark key. Wala nang boat doon. If human connection is available, He will tap it. He will use it. Just the same, it is God's plan. This is where faith and obedience meet God's providence. Okay, so as we do, as Apostle Paul's nephew tries to help him learn about the oath of these people, something is happening there. So the commander took the young man by the hand, drew him aside, and asked, "What is it that you want to tell me?" Mukhang may secret dito. Why is the commander so interested about a child reporting something to him? Will he believe it? Does he need to believe the child? There's so many things happening here, but mind you, friends, I'm showing you how God does what He plans for. They have taken an oath not to eat or drink until they have killed Paul. You know what the child say? They're just waiting for your consent. If I were you, I will not believe them, because they're going to use you only. But then something has to go on. The commander and his interests will have to go on. But we don't underestimate the ordinary. God can use the ordinary people, the ordinary moments, to accomplish His extraordinary purpose. Look what is going to happen next. God is working even when it doesn't look spectacular. He doesn't need to do anything spectacular or out of this world to be able to support his plan for your life. But we need to trust him, whether he moves with a miracle or with a moment. Because no scheme of man can stop God's plan. The commander dismissed the young man with this warning: don't tell anyone that you have reported to me. Why is this? Why is there a secret? I am the commander. Why do I have to connive with you and tell you not to tell others? I am the commander. I am in command of everything. Look how this commander will try to use this situation to perpetuate his plan. Then he called two of his centurion and ordered them, get ready a detachment of 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen to go to Caesarea at 9 tonight. Provide horses for Paul so that he may be taken safely to Governor Felix. What is happening here? Apostle Paul is just one guy. And there are 40 people plotting against him. But then, the commander was so he asked that 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen occupy YMCA one day and cover Paul. Paul is just one person. Can you imagine 70 horses inside this auditorium? Wala pa yung 200 na soldiers and 200 spearmen. That's a lot. Is this not a big plan to save one person? Yes, it is. My commander will not give an order like that. The most is he will send a squad. But it's a battalion. 470 people altogether to protect Apostle Paul. Paul wasn't just any man. He was part of God's plan. When God protects His plan, He provides more than enough. And the same thing is promised for you and me. He has a plan for you. He will do anything to continue that plan for your life. Okay? So the irony is, while those 40 men who swore to kill Paul, their plan didn't just fail, but God turned it around. Okay. 40 people are now hungry. They are now thirsty. Do they have the strength? No, they don't have the strength. But I have 470 soldiers surrounding Paul. Are you matched? No. But then God was the one orchestrating all this just to protect Paul. Paul was so secured by the presence of all these soldiers. And he's heavily escorted, heavily guarded. What was meant to stop him, which is these 40 people who wanted to kill him, what was planned to stop him from doing what he is doing, turned out to be God's plan. So he kept on doing his assignment. Human schemes, friends, can't stop God. In fact, they often set the stage for His plan to move faster. So now, Pastor Boots asked us last week, do you know the name of the commander? Because he was so vague. The commander, everything written to him, about him was the commander. And now, look at the commander's interest. He wrote a letter as follows. He placed himself first. He named himself first. Claudius Lysias writing this. Okay? To His Excellency, Governor Felix, greetings. Watch out, friends. what the purpose of this commander is. So he wrote a letter. This man was seized by the Jews, and they were about to kill him. But I came with my troops and rescued him. For I had learned that he is a Roman citizen. I wanted to know why they were accusing him. So I brought him, puro ay yata ito, ay. Only had, for presentation is, I did this, I did this, I did this. So proud. So I sent him to you at once. I also ordered his accusers to present to you their case against him. Eh naman pala eh. It's not you. Dinala mo lang si Apostle Paul, ang dami mong ayayay. But then, what people have planned to perpetuate something that will be detrimental to the life of God's people, God can use them. So how did God use this egoistic person? He sees to it that Apostle Paul was brought to the governor. Anybody has a license to do that? Only him. Pero kasama yung ayayay. Okay? So that's his ugali. Wala tayong magagawa doon. Okay? Even at the height of its power, the Roman Empire was nothing more than a tool in God's hands. God can even use any powerful government, any powerful person to perpetuate His plan for His people. He will just use them. God can turn any force to accomplish His plan. So, can anybody control God's plan? No? Even the enemy's plot, the 40 men bound by the death oath, becomes the mechanism that moves Paul safely forward. God uses the very scheme of man to fulfill His plan. Ayun ang plano mo? Okay, gagamitin ko rin yan. So the soldiers carrying out their orders took Paul with them during the night and brought him as far as Antipatris. The next day, they let the cavalry go on with him while they returned to the barracks. So finally, Apostle Paul was brought to a safe place. You know where that was? When the cavalry arrived in Caesarea, they delivered the letter to the governor and handed Paul over to him. My question is, why Caesarea? Caesarea is not part of Rome. But Caesarea is the place where their Malacanang was. So Paul was delivered safely to Malacanang at that time. Astig. Dito, gustong patayin. Dito, nasa Malacanang na. And he's just one man. And these are 40 people wanting to kill Paul. But they were used to bring Paul to Malacanang, to safe ground. So every human plot, every oath, every scheme, it may look like chaos, but it's being used to fulfill God's purpose for Apostle Paul and for you. Okay, so don't think that this is complicated. Don't think that this is difficult to do. God can utilize anything, any plan to save you. The governor read the letter and asked what province he was from, so he learned that Apostle Paul was from Cilicia. So he said, okay, Cilicia, okay, I will hear your case when your accusers come and give their complaint against you. So in the meantime, you are protected under guard in the king's palace, in Herod's palace. So, did you feel that Apostle Paul was very important to God? Did you feel that what Apostle Paul had been doing was important to God? so is you. God finds you important also that each one of you has your assignment to do, that He will bring you there. Whatever cost it will cost Him. The plot that was meant to end Paul's life became the very thing that secured his journey. So different and difficult situations happened, but God was able to move each one of them to support protecting Paul. And He does that to you as well. In your life, you may be undergoing any difficult situation, but God is just using whatever situation around your life to bring you to that place where He wanted you to be. Be it sickness, be it relationship, be it any difficulty, any aggressive move by others. God is just bringing you where He wanted you to be. So don't ask God to part the Red Sea again for you. He's not gonna do that anymore. He did that only one time. But for that situation, for the situation of Paul, it's different. Can you imagine why He sent a young boy to know about the plan of these plotters? You know why? Because the young boy would make sumbong. If it is a teenager, maybe he would say, oh, maybe they're just talking about it. Maybe they're not serious about it. But a young boy would be careful to know that, oh, it's my uncle's life is threatened. I have to go and see him. Tell him this. I don't care. God can use other people around you to bring you to His plan for you. The biggest conspiracy scheme in history that failed was the cross. The Jews wanted to kill the Messiah. They wanted to stop the Messiah. They don't want Jesus to be their Lord and Savior because they don't understand His role. They have a misconception on where Jesus Christ will come from or where God's child will come from. But not from Nazareth. So the biggest conspiracy happened on the cross. When Jesus gave His life for the benefit of all. The cross became the greatest triumph to fulfill God's purpose in our lives. So no matter if there's conspiracy around you, for as long as the Lord is sending you to do this mission, He will just do anything to bring you there. Because no scheme of man, no betrayal, no oath, no conspiracy can stop what God has purposed for you. Not for Paul, not for Jesus, not for you. Because no scheme of man can stop God's plan. My question is, what do we do now? What do we do? What do you think should we do? God has a plan for your life. What you're doing today, what you're busy about today may not be the work that He wants for you. Or maybe not the way for you to serve Him. You wanted to be a nurse, but you became an engineer. Right? You wanted to be a doctor, but you became a technician. Difficult, right? We wanted a lot for our lives, but it is not God's plan for us. So how? Stay on assignment. God has assigned something to you. And let us become a church that confidently declares we will stay on our assignment as a church, as a person, as a believer of Jesus Christ. And God will handle every scheme till we'll fulfill until we fulfill God's unstoppable purpose for us. Recall what God has assigned you to do, because He has an assignment for you. Each one of you have your own different assignment. There's a general will to spread the gospel to all nations. There's a specific will for each one of you. A specific assignment for all of you. Are you not puzzled that today this is what you're doing, tomorrow this is what you're doing? 1 year ago, this is what you're doing. So you seem to be puzzled. Why? People are asking, God, what do you really want me to do? That's your assignment. Find out. And you will know. Soon, you will know, because you have started the quest. So those who are here wanting to know God's assignment for Him, I'd say that you keep on praying. Keep on praying to Him. Lord, I want to fulfill your assignment for me in my life. I have been searching through. I have been asking, which one? I've been here, I've been there, I've been everywhere, but still to no avail. Please lead me, Lord, to my assignment.